Well, originally this was going to be a review of She-Hulk, Episode 1, She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Episode 1. But something came across my desk a few minutes ago, and I'm so excited I decided to do this first. Then I got the She-Hulk one and another one to do later this morning. Back in 2000, I had gotten pretty much disinterested in Marvel DC comics. They were sucking. They haven't changed much, but they were not doing that great. Sorry for anybody who's a DC or Marvel fan out there. When word came out that a brand new comic book company was coming, based out of Florida. There were two of them within a time period. One called Future Comics and one called CrossGen. CrossGen, I believe Future Comics was based out of Tampa with Bob Layton, Dave Michelini, the late great Dick Giordano, and others I can't remember. Sorry. The other one was CrossGen. CrossGen was based out of Baltimore, Florida, not far from where I live. It's a real small town. What made this interesting was in 2000, Mark Alessi, who made a huge fortune off of selling some kind of company he owned or something, decided, I'm going to start my own comic book company. And he did it in a different way. If you worked for CrossGen, you were exclusive with CrossGen. If you worked for CrossGen, you had to move to Florida. You had to move to the old Tampa Bay area. You had to work and live here. Some of the biggest names in comics ended up working there. Chuck Dixon, Ron Mars, Barbara Kesel, Butch Guice. Did I say Chuck Dixon, Mark Waid. I may be repeating myself. George Perez did some work here. And a lot of others. I think J.M. DeMonis did some work here too. They had some great ideas. No superheroes. They were all sci-fi, fantasy, I think a little bit of horror and drama. So it just great idea, great concept, great stories, some of the best in the comic book industry, and it lasted for several years. I'm not totally sure what happened. They went bankrupt. Marvel Comics bought them out, and tried a couple of ideas. It didn't work, and they shelved everything. They do that with every comic book company that they buy out. They try the ideas for a little bit. If they don't get it right, the comics characters and the comics disappear, never to be seen again. Well, it just came out that Marvel is reprinting the first 4 issues of 4 of CrossGen's best titles. El Cazador should have been in there, but that was number 5. That was a pirate comic with some brilliant artwork. Did Chuck Dixon write it? Chuck, if you're watching this, and you hopefully will, we'll put something in here. Let me go over what they are doing. They're hinting at maybe bringing CrossGen's comics back. These may be the first 4. But I think it don't work if they can somehow get the creators back and the artists back. Don't try anything new. The first one was called Mystic. It was a story of a couple sisters. One was a sorceress and one was a socialite. It was written by Ron Mars. Ron Mars is the guy who took the Hal Jordan Green Lantern and made him evil, called Paradox, where he wiped out the Green Lantern Corps and all of that. Brilliant writer. Brandon Peterson, who I've met down here, is a very brilliant artist. I loved his work. It was a good title. These sigils are called. These symbols would show up on people and they gained superpowers. Now, I think the socialite ended up getting more powerful than her sister. The second one was called Sigil, ironically. That was a war comic, and it was Mark Waid, Barbara Kesel, who has written a lot of brilliant comic books at DC, Chuck Dixon, who I just mentioned a few minutes ago, and Ben and Ray Lai were the artists. It was a brilliant comic book. It was about a soldier in a war on a planet, and I believe he got a sigil too. Third one is Sojurn, kind of like a takeoff of Lord of the Rings. It was a pretty good title. It was written by Ron Mars, art by Ian Eddington and Greg Land. Great title, great stuff. Like to have seen it continued, but they didn't. The company ended. The last one was my favorite, Ruse. Ruse was like a Sherlock Holmes on a planet that was in the Victorian age. It was in Earth. And the detective, I believe, ended up with a sigil. It was written by Mark Waid and drawn by one of the greatest artists, I think, in the world, Butch Guice. Well, they're in November, a reprint of all four in one book called The Tales of the Crossgen is coming out. And it goes, we'll introduce a whole new generation to the universe of CrossGen. So I'm thinking they wouldn't be doing this unless they had plans for it. I just hope it doesn't take as long as Miracle Man did, or Marvel Man. I don't know what they call it now, Marvel. But that was tied up in legal difficulties. I know that Mark Alessi, the guy who I mentioned earlier, who created CrossGen, died a few years ago. I was saddened by that. I didn't know it until recently. But hopefully his legacy and what he started will go on. If you like what I've written, if you like my posts, please like and subscribe. Any comments beneath would be appreciated. Just keep the language clean. I'll talk to you guys soon. I got She-Hulk to do later. Bye.